There exists a mirror world, and it is a direct reflection of our own world. These worlds stand together and yet oppose each other, like darkness and light, reason and chaos. These two domains are really chalk and cheese. The presence of these two facets indicate that there has been a breaking away, a separation, if you like, of what was once whole. And we, in turn, are also split beings. We have a separate existence in each of these worlds. As we approach the mirror, our counterpart in that other world likewise approaches us. And when we retreat away into our own world, so too does our mirror self back into his. Contact is lost and we become separated. Jung was apt at turning things that we ordinarily understand right onto their heads, subverting our everyday understanding of what we think of as the real world. We are rightly proud of the shining glories of our world, the marvels of the intellect, reason, science, and our very consciousness. But here's the old switcheroo from Jung. He identifies our world as not the one of light. It is the other world that is the one of light. He saw our world as its dim and dark counterpart. We are in the land of topsy-turvy, a shadow world. And like when we were youngsters, apt to trippy metaphysical speculations, and suddenly came to that counter-intuitional notion, are we already dead? Have we died, and is this world some sort of purgatorial afterlife? There is an element of something being slightly off. So for Jung then, the task of the alchemist is to catch this refracted divine light. Those labouring in the darkness must try to accomplish an opus that will cause the fish's eyes to shine in the depths of the sea. Everything that the darkness thinks, grasps, and comprehends by itself is dark. Therefore it is illuminated only by what is unexpected, unwanted, and incomprehensible to it. This is the paradox of transformation. The light does not come from what is known, it comes from what disrupts knowing. One of Jung's visions in the Red Book evokes the meeting with his opposite at the mirror. In the vision, Jung yearns for and journeys toward the symbolic East, the home of the rising sun, the place of illumination and spiritual awakening. His path is narrow, leading upward toward a mountain ridge, but as he nears the summit, a mighty booming erupts from the other side, like ore being pounded. The sound echoes thunderously across the pass, shaking the very air. At the crest, an enormous man appears, clad in golden, bejeweled armor, a radiant and formidable figure, mirroring Jung from the far side. This powerful one is the beautiful and terrifying blind god, longing for his opposite, the symbolic West, the immortal land where the sun sinks, only to be reborn. The god, like Jung, seeks wholeness. No longer do outer opposites stand in my way, but my own opposite comes toward me and rises up hugely before me, and we block each other's way. In this charged, archetypal encounter, Jung, emissary of the Western lands, the domain of human consciousness and mortality, finds himself reduced to the form of a worm or serpent, cowering before this immense, elementally powerful being. It is not a battle of strength, but of inner recognition, a confrontation with the other half of the soul. As is so often the way in the mythological world, it is the serpent, the worm, who strikes at the heel of the hero and delivers the poison. Not with brute force, but with something subtler, more corrosive, knowledge. The blind god, immense and radiant, turns to Jung and asks, "Does the sun sink in the sea? Or does it touch the solid land in its decline?" But Jung, with the cold clarity of reason, replies that the sun is a celestial body, lying unspeakably far out in unending space. This truth, factual, sterile, and estranged from myth, brings the god low. The hero of divine order is overcome by a suffocating fear and cries out, "I will never reach the sun and never reach immortality." Here the serpent's venom does its work. The poison is reason, the rational mind. It names the sun, measures it, and reduces it. It is at least a poison for the gods. We, humanity, are somewhat immune to it, although it has left us lame and stunted, without the opportunity to properly flourish. No stronger being has ever cut me down, no monster has ever resisted my strength, but your poison, worm, which you have placed in my way, has lamed me to the marrow. And then comes the most devastating exchange. The lamed god, bewildered, asks, "Have you no gods anymore?" And Jung, standing in the place of modern man, answers, "No, words are all we have." The hero, incredulous, asks, "But are these words powerful?" And Jung replies, "So they claim, but one notices nothing of this." So I did not anticipate the powerful, blind, and immortal one, who wandered longingly after the sinking sun, who wanted to cleave the ocean down to its bottom so he could descend into the source of life. That which hurries toward the rising is small, that which approaches the descent is great. Hence I was small, since I simply came from the depths of my descent. I had been where he yearned to be. He who descends is great, and it would be easy for him to smash me. A god who looks like the sun does not hunt worms, but the worm aims at the heel of the powerful one and will prepare him for the descent he needs. His power is great and blind. He is marvelous to look at and frightening, but the serpent finds its spot. This is the meeting with our shadow, but the shadow turns out to be not merely an evil counterpart to our good self. It is a beautiful and terrible god. Where we are sober, it is fantastic. Where we are utterly new, it is ancient. Where we are cunning, it is full of power. The way is narrow and straight, to hold a course along this charged and conflicting boundary between the opposites. But to stray from this path is to become hopelessly lost. The high blazing flame is the middle way, whose luminous course runs between the human and the divine. If you go beyond him, blindness will befall you. If he goes beyond you, paralysis will befall him. Jung speaks of the danger of going beyond for man, leaving the path in pursuit of the rising sun and the land of fantastic yet blind powers. If the god comes near you, then plead for your life to be spared, since the god is loving horror. The ancients knew this. They said, "It is terrible to fall into the hands of the living God." They said this because they remembered they were still close to the ancient forest, and in childlike awe they turned green like the trees, ascending toward the east. And so they fell into the hands of the living God. They learned to kneel, to lie with their faces down, to beg for pity, to live in servile fear, and to be grateful. But the one who saw him, the terrible beautiful one, with black velvet eyes and long lashes, eyes that do not see but only gaze, lovingly and fearfully, he has learned to cry out, to whimper, so that he might at least reach the ear of the Godhead. Only your fearful cry can stop the God. And then you see that God also trembles, because he stands before his own face, his observing gaze reflected in you, and he feels an unknown power. The God is afraid of man. The God and the serpent complement and need each other. At the point where they meet, they are equal, the God descending and the worm rising. So he lay before me, helpless, my blind God, who had become half-seeing and paralyzed. And compassion seized me, because I knew I must not let him die. He who came from the rising, from that place where he could be well, but which I could never reach. He whom I sought, I now possessed. The East could give me nothing but him, the sick and fallen one. The blind shall be lamed, so that he will not run into the abyss, and the lame shall be blind, so that he will not long for what is beyond his reach with contempt or despair. Jung intuited that man and his shadow have not always been distant entities. He speculated that in earlier astrological ages, each lasting roughly 2,160 years, humanity had different, evolving relationships with what he called the other. In Ion, 1951, Jung observed that during the age of Gemini, circa 4300 BC, the age of the twins, man had his spirit around him as a second person. In that era, the duality was externalized. Man and spirit walked together, side by side. But when the age of Gemini ended, Jung suggests a pivotal transformation occurred. Men said to their shadows, "You are I," thus two became one. And from this collision of opposites, something formidable broke out. The spring of consciousness, what we now call culture, a flowering that lasted until the time of Christ. With the age of Pisces, the era of the fish, a new split occurred. What had been united divided again into an underworld and an upper world, the eternal rhythm of contrast and opposition. Jung saw in this division a kind of cosmic necessity. Christ sent what is beneath to hell, since it strives toward the good. That had to be. But the separated cannot remain separated forever. Eventually reunion must come, and with it the end of the age of Pisces. The next aeon, astrologically speaking, is Aquarius. Its beginning is debated, falling sometime between AD 2000 and 2200, depending on which astronomical markers one chooses. Jung foresaw this new age as ushering in a powerful archetypal task. If, as seems probable, the aeon of the fishes is ruled by the archetypal motif of the hostile brothers, Then the approach of the next Platonic month, namely Aquarius, will constellate the problem of the union of opposites. The age of denial and projection, where evil is cast off as merely the privation of good, will no longer suffice. Its real existence will have to be recognized, because what was once hidden away will be pushed to the surface. As we are drawn ever closer to the mirror, so the other is inexorably drawn to us. And try as we might, we just can't tear our eyes away from it. In this dawning age, we suspect and perhaps already know that growth demands both, good and evil, held in proximity, not split and warred against, but acknowledged as partners in transformation. Too far into the good means the same as too far into the evil. So we keep them close together, not out of cynicism, but out of wisdom.